Check out the Israel Sports Radio store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items such as t-shirts, hats, books, and much, much more. Price does include shipping, and we do ship throughout the entire world. All major credit cards are accepted to make your shopping experience easy and convenient. So once again, click on the store tab on www.israelsportsradio.com.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with locations up and down the East Coast, from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's All Noise Radio's Sports Talk with Welcome to another edition of Sports. I am Yossi G, your host, the Sports Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. A wonderful evening that we have out here for baseball. A lovely night if you're really couldn't care about baseball and are totally into the NFL and this lovely NFL season as we hit Week 8, the just about midway point here for the NFL. A lot to talk about. Rangers, Flyers, and other NHL news as well. It's going to be fun. As always, 856-330-4749 if you want to chime in, get in on the conversation, and have your voice heard, your thoughts dwelled upon. If you do not have access to the phone but want to chime in through the internet, send me a Twitter message at the SEG or a message on Facebook, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with So you got this game last night in the World Series, Game 1. Got the young St. Louis Cardinals, who most of which have never been to Fenway Park, have never, obviously never played in a World Series game, and you have the bearded Boston Red Sox. I mean, it's kind of, the beards versus the skins. Yeah, and I mean, we hear all the jokes about it, but last night's game certainly was no jokes. There was a lot to be desired if you were a St. Louis Cardinals fan, or at least a Boston Red Sox detractor, somebody who does not like them. Certainly a lot to be desired over there. However, that said, even so, you look at the game itself, look beyond the Carlos Beltran robbing of a grand slam to David Ortiz, beyond the bases clearing double by Mike Napoli after a Pete Kozma error at second base, and the whole umpire call controversy that could have happened, but the overturned call there in the third inning. Beyond all of that, when you look at the World Series, it's something that you hope is going to draw and garner a lot of attention. Now, for the Boston Red Sox, it certainly has. I mean, since spring training, everybody's been after the Red Sox. Last year was very bad. Not even 70 wins. This year, 97 wins that they had. So there is certainly a complete transition, I think, from the whole Bobby Valentine era to where they are right now. And certainly you can look at what has been going on in Boston over the last 8-10 years. I mean, this is the third World Series appearance since they won it all in 2004 for the first time in 86 years. And a lot of it is owed to Oakland, to Billy Beane, because that's what the Red Sox have employed. They've meshed Billy Beane's money ball idea with the whole mentality of you don't necessarily have to save money. It's, taking the product that was put into very good use by somebody in one place where they were kind of cash strapped, and using it in a facility or in an environment which is not cash strapped, which they are totally all for. Go spend money, do as you please, and go have fun. So, with that said, you look at everything that's been going on with the World Series, from the coverage to the actual game itself, and you almost expect that this game 2, which is pretty much going to start, just shortly in a couple of minutes, that the Red Sox on the one hand, the big bad wolf, the Cardinals on the other side of the coin, also 97 wins, the tops in the National League. The young guns, of course, they have Adam Wainwright and Carlos Beltran and some of those veterans, Matt Holliday. But you look at the transition that the Cardinals have gone through, letting the best player in the game walk, essentially, to Anaheim and Albert Pujols. I mean, you see where the Angels finished. You see what has gone on now at this point with Pujols' career, where it has tanked. And you see that model of a franchise that the Cardinals have created, where they get the most out of their players. And if, when a player is still believed by the world over, the sporting world over, to be in his prime, and they still are able to in this case with Pujols, they didn't have to pay him anything. I mean, they didn't trade him, they didn't get any compensation for him, but at least they didn't have to pay him that money, and it freed up all that extra space, and it allowed them to go out and buy and spend on some of the other pieces that they needed, or sign some of the pieces that helped fill that gap, that void that was left by him. I mean, look at all those things, and it certainly puts everything into perspective for the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Boston Red Sox. However, if you're going to take, let's say, the Red Sox, right? The Red Sox for themselves, you go ahead and you take what they have as a team, as a franchise, and also with them. Look at what they did. They go ahead and they signed a couple players who changed the dynamic of their team. Koji Uehara. And then there's also like Mike Napoli as another example. Go and sign him and bring him onto the team. A little bit of veteran leadership. I mean, Uehara has been phenomenal this postseason. And you look at also tonight's Game 2 starter for St. Louis. On the other side, Michael Wacha also has been phenomenal. We'll get to him in a moment. Short as the recap for St. Louis. As a fan of the Cardinals, that St. Louis is going to get better, and they're not going to have another repeat of the 3 errors that they had last night. Also, of course, that drop ball by Cosma there in third base. John Lester, 7 2/3 shutout innings. I did not see that one coming. I thought probably give up 3-4 runs and would keep the team in the game. Certainly would keep the Red Sox in the game, but definitely not a shutout performance by Lester for his near 8 innings of pitching. But it also proved that Adam Wainwright is hittable, and that could be an issue for the Cardinals down the road. He's their ace. He's their go-to guy. He is the pitcher who's pitched in these playoff situations before, the guy who everybody looks towards for this type of answers for some of the the questions of are we scared, or what's going to happen, how does it work, different parks, new parks, different sort of pressure, all that sort of stuff. The mentality that Adam Wainwright brings, the veteran leadership that he brings to the team is really goes without question, and he's the type of guy that if he starts to struggle, then you have a problem. But the question though for last night was, if Wainwright got out of that jam in the 3rd inning, bases loaded, gets that ground ball, Cosma fields it cleanly, and it's an inning-ending double play. I mean, you got Big Papi there, David Ortiz sitting on first base. I mean, it's a tailor-made double play. No one is slower than Big Papi, I think, on that field. So if you have that, you think about that, there certainly is a possibility for that entire situation, the entire game to have been different had that play, had the error not occurred, had the play been fielded cleanly. The drop ball at second base by Pete Kozma changes the dynamic of the game if there is no error. Adam Wainwright obviously didn't have his best stuff last night, but he could have settled in. You know, he'd been able to get through that inning, get through that jam, have his mental, mindset kind of settled. He gets into a groove, and he's off to the races with John Lester. You look at what happened after that third inning. I mean, essentially, things kind of settled in for him. I mean, you look at what happened in the fourth inning, obviously, with that whole Carlos Beltran robbing David Ortiz of that grand slam and injuring himself in the process. But it goes further to show that he would have trust in his fielders. He would have trust in his own pitches to make the pitches that were needed had that error not happened. But the question then goes, what could he have done better in order to make that the error to just go by the wayside, not to have affected him? I don't know. I've never been in that position where I'm pitching game one of the World Series and I'm facing a really, really good team and something like that, literally where my fielder drops the ball. Literally. But it begs the question that we could be looking at this not as a game two with the Cardinals having to play catch up, but game two in Fenway where the Red Sox have to tie the series as it heads back to St. Louis. And tonight, right now, when you look at what happened last night, yeah, they got beat. And they got beat bad, handily by the Red Sox. The Cardinals did. But don't forget, last series, the NLDS against Pittsburgh, Pirates won the first game 9-1. What happened? Second game, St. Louis won 7-1. So it's not unheard of. It has not... all of these young players on the St. Louis Cardinals, all they have to do is look back at last series against the Bucks, against the Pirates, and they can see what happened. Go back. You have short-term memory loss. It's not that long ago. Go back, look, see what happened, see where you guys were against the Pirates, see what type of position you were, and everyone thought, oh, the Pirates won game 1 9-1. That's it. That's the end of the story. They wrote you off. And look at what happened in game 2. Right now, you got Lackey on the mound against Michael Wacha. I mean, this kid has been lights out this postseason. 16 months ago, he was at Texas A&M. He's 16 months removed from college, from pitching college ball. And in his 3 postseason starts, that's a 0.43 ERA. Are you kidding me? It's mind-boggling. So Wacha and Lackey tonight, it's certainly... It's going to be an interesting, it should be a fun game. And there's only 2 players on the Cardinals who have ever seen Lackey pitch, who have ever experienced an at-bat against Lackey. That's one, Carlos Beltran with those bruised ribs, and Matt Holliday. Both of them are combined 0 for 16 against Lackey. So you're looking at a pitcher who the club has never had a single hit against. I know it doesn't bode well, but this is the postseason, and if you need any proof, look at what happened in the last series against the Pirates. I know the Pirates play in the NL just like the Cardinals do, and the Boston Red Sox play in the AL, and they only get to see each other once every 4 years or so, or if they meet each other in the World Series. But even so, just look at what happened last round. It's possible you can hit somebody even if you've never seen him before. I mean, just look at all the players in the league. I mean, they come up. It's not like they've never seen how does it happen the first time? Do they have to face every single pitcher in the entire league before they're able to get a hit off that pitcher? No. Okay, so let's say they all go down in order, 1, 2, 3 in the first 3 innings. I would put my trust in Wacha to hold the Boston Red Sox scoreless as well through the first 3 innings. And guess what? You take some tips from Carlos Beltran, take some tips from Matt Holliday, and of course you watch film on John Lackey. I certainly hope the Cardinals were doing that over the last couple days before the series started, while they had a couple off days to recuperate, regenerate themselves, get a little healthier, watch some video. Certainly hope that that's what they were doing their homework. There's no excuse. And even if they go 3 up, 3 down for the first 3 innings, well, guess what? You're a professional athlete. You're going to see those pitches. You're going to see some of the pitches that he throws in certain counts. And then you go up again in the 4th inning, 5th inning, 6th inning, and everybody expects you to get hits off him now. Don't put on that extra pressure, but it certainly is possible, because even if you haven't seen him before, but it's like any other pitcher. You see him once, the second time you go up to bat against him, it's just that much more difficult for the pitcher to get you out, because he knows that you, the batter, knows what he can throw in a potential situation. Certainly is going to be fun. 856-330-4749. Opening up the phone lines when we get back here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job, and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com. Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day? Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Thanks, CSB.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Welcome back to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you want to chime in on the conversation, 856-330-4749, or send me a tweet at the YossiG, or a Facebook message, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk. You know, we were talking a little bit about baseball, about World Series that's going on right now. Of course, you know, we're going to be joined a little later on by the host of Lewis Live on Tel Aviv 1 out in Israel in the Holy Land. One of the things, though, that I know him personally for and about is that he is a huge Cardinals fan. And, of course, being that we're going to have him, you know, get his take on watching the World Series in the wee hours of the morning there over in the Middle East. And, of course, we're going to get his take on one of these interesting stories that happen out in the Gulf Coast, actually in the Persian Gulf, in the Arabian Gulf, in the United Arab Emirates, a story that happened over there, so you'll want to tune in for that a little later on. But in terms of this World Series, you have a couple really interesting talking points in terms of both these teams. They have, I know, a history of facing one another, not necessarily in the regular season, but in the World Series. Even you just have to go back to 2004, where the Red Sox swept the Cardinals to take their first title in since 1918, like 86 years that they got it at that point in time. But of course, you know, you also have maybe it's a little bit of that mystique that Boston has, and a little bit of the stadium, Fenway Park. Maybe the Cardinals players in Game 1 were not so used to having the fans that close to them, or having the fans that much on top of them, and things like that. Very asymmetrical, not necessarily like the types of parks that you find today. But even so, you look at some of the history that the Cardinals and the Red Sox have had over the years. You had, of course, Stan the Man Musial, when he went up against the Splendid Splinter, when he went up against Ted Williams, and of course Pedro and Pujols, and in 2004. So they faced themselves a couple of times. in the past, and certainly it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the series. It's going to be fun, it's going to be exciting, and it's not going to be another sweep. That certainly is not going to happen. That you can pretty much bank on. But birds and beards now what you have in the World Series, and when you look at what Waka has done, and of course the relievers Trevor Rosenthal and Carlos Martinez and Kevin Segrist, just the entire rest of the bullpen of the roster that the Cardinals have certainly is able to bring, or will probably erase some of those bad memories of the 2004 sweep, and be able to right that ship and certainly make this series more competitive. I mean, even Cardinals manager Mike Matheny, he was the catcher for the Cardinals that year, and he had, at that point in time, was Yadier Molina was his backup. He was a rookie then. Now he's considered probably the best defensive catcher in baseball. But when you look at, what had happened in the past, right? Even the last World Series, you had between Alan Craig and David Freese and all of them, they're certainly going to be able to be looking back. They're looking at the Green Monster every time they go up to bat, and they're going to try to recreate some of that magic from 2011 against Texas. And you definitely see it. But if you look at one of the interesting things when you have the NL and the AL, it's the designated hitters, the DH, and the dilemma for the Cardinals, and I think they probably have the edge, because for them it's in an AL park, it just means that you have another really potent batter. But for the AL and an NL park, it means that your pitcher has to take those at bats, and usually ends up being a surefire out unless the pitcher came from the National League, then has some experience, batting. But outside of that, when you look at the actual series itself, it has all the makings for a good series, and it certainly is not going to be the type like we had back in 2004, where they're just bang bang, you're gone. When you look at what happened, what the Red Sox had to do in order to get to the World Series, come back against the Yankees, down 3-0, win that series. Couple of those games went to extra innings. They were riding a tidal wave of emotion, and they rode that straight to their championship. So what you have this year versus that year is both teams in the World Series are really, really good. They're coming in, each riding a wave, each of emotion, each riding a streak, each riding a some kind of a belief that they're the team that's going to win the World Series, that they are on that squad that is going to bring the Fall Classic home and win. But when you break down the actual lineups between the pitchers, obviously you look at the Boston Red Sox, and they went out and they got Shane Victorino. They went out and they got Xander Bogaerts, converted shortstop to third baseman now, Steven Drew. When you look at a lot of these players, these are guys who, like the Cardinals, the Red Sox also went a little bit bargain shopping and, basement bargain hunting and things like that. So certainly it shows that you're able to both play small ball and also go long to build your team to get to the World Series, and it will show throughout the rest of this series, throughout the duration of the games. It's not going to be 4-0. It's not going to be 5-1. I actually picked the Red Sox to win it in 6, even though I can't stand the Boston Red Sox. I would love to see the Cardinals win. It would be really nice, and if they do win, it would be. It would be in 7. Even before last night's game, I said it would be in 7 if the Cardinals win. But my pick is the Red Sox. I just feel like they have too much firepower. They have too many guys on the mound who can mow down the Cardinal batters, and they have too much of an advantage in terms of also the postseason experience, the batters, the patience that they're able to display on. At the plate and on the mound, that they will beat the St. Louis Cardinals, who will have a very good team and will probably be back here another 1 or 2 times in the next 4 to 5 years. I really see them as being the representatives from the National League, and giving the Los Angeles Dodgers a run for their money down the road. When you look at teams that are in flux, I mean, right now we have one season ending in baseball coming to a close, and you have another season beginning, that being basketball soon. You have another team that's in flux in Boston, that being the Celtics, and just everything that has gone on with them. They've revamped their entire roster. They've got those draft picks. They got that young talent. They are in redevelopment mode. And you look at what happened with the Celtics' old guard. The only one that really has remained is Rajon Rondo. And I look at the Celtics, and this year, next year, kind of like the 76ers, except that the Celtics actually have an NBA player on the team in Rondo, whilst the 76ers don't. I mean, there's nobody on the 76ers in Philadelphia that really resembles even an NBA player at this point. Some really good college players, but I don't really see anybody right now on the 76ers as any great shakes. You never know, you might catch I don't want to say lightning in a bottle, but when the 76ers open up against the Miami Heat in Philadelphia at the Wells Fargo Center in a couple nights, you kind of hope for the 76ers. I mean, they're going to have a full house. Everybody's coming to check out, what the opening night's going to be. Not because they want to see the Philadelphia 76ers. Oh, no way. They want to see the big three. They want to see the Miami Heat come to town, and they want to see them play. And they want to see them, I don't know, win, but they certainly want to see them score. You never know. 76ers, I mean, like, hey, I wonder what those odds are in Vegas. Maybe put down, $5, $10 on that game as just for the heck of it, because you never know. This is sports after all. I mean, you have these two teams, and of course, you can agree or disagree with me. 856-330-4749, or send me a tweet, or send me a text, or send me a Facebook message, facebook.com, and search for Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Twitter is @TheYossiG. Now, you have these two teams, but of course, when the Miami Heat, I mean, they have the banner raising tonight, their first game. When they come to Philadelphia, it's the second game, but they have their banner raising. Maybe you think that maybe they might be a little sluggish and a little kind of lost in the headlights, that sort of thing, and the 76ers might come out and actually outperform the Miami Heat. Dare I tread on speaking blasphemy? But even so, I mean, come on, let's be believable here, right, for a moment. It's not going to happen. Even nonetheless, so we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to have the host of Lewis Live on Tel Aviv 1, Ari Lewis, is going to join us because he's got something to explain to everybody about what the World Series has to offer, a secret that you may not know. Stay tuned. Sports Talk.
It's been 48 years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back to Sports Talk Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. 856-330-4749 to chime in with your voice. Let it be heard. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear you shout out. I want to hear what you got to say. Or if you are a little too shy and you don't want to call in, but yet you still want to get your opinion across, give me a text, give me a tweet. Tweet at me at TheYossiG, or send me a text at Facebook, facebook.com/Sports Talk. Before we get to your phone calls, before we get to your opinions, we have on joining us now, courtesy of the hotline, we have here Ari Lewis, the host of Lewis Live on Tel Aviv 1. What's going on, Ari? How you doing?
Speak to you from Jerusalem in the Holy Land.
Oh, thank you very much for coming on, taking the time out of your day to join me here on Sports Talk. Ari, before we kind of touch upon some of the really happenstances that have been going on your end of the world, we got World Series. Game 1 was last night. Game 2 is going on right now as we speak. I know you're a big Cardinals fan, and the Cards last night, I mean, they literally dropped the ball. What's your opinion of this going forward? Because I know that you really, really were hoping that your Cards were going to win this series in 6.
Yeah, well, by the way, drop the ball is a great expression. They were terrible on all fronts, pitching and defense, and they didn't much up on offense either. But, look, even with the blowout, you see, if the Cardinals win today 1-0, the momentum is right back with St. Louis. They'll have the home field advantage, and that big blowout when the Red Sox got won't matter. So I'm not that worried. I mean, it was frustrating because I stayed up till 3 in the morning to watch this game, and I dozed off a little in the first inning. The second inning, I woke up and saw that my boys were down 5-0. You know, David Ortiz about to hit a grand slam. Beltran made a great play and got injured from it, got a little hurt. So it was really frustrating, but I'm not that worried. Even if the Cardinals lose tonight, I'm still not that worried because there's been many teams that have lost the first 2 games of the World Series and come back. But these 2 games are in Boston. All the Cardinals got to do is get a split. That's their job. They win game 2, they get the split. So I'm not hitting the panic button just yet, but we did look really bad, and that was not St. Louis Cardinals baseball.
Well, certainly when you look at what happened, perhaps it was a little bit, the Cardinals are predominantly a young team, and it's Adam Wainwright, Matt Holliday, and, Carlos Beltran. Outside of them, really everybody are a bunch of newbies to the league, to Major League Baseball, and most of them had never been to Fenway Park before, so it was a little bit of that asymmetrical stadium getting to them. The fans are really right on top of them. They're not so used to experiencing something like that. But you would figure that after the first 3 innings, and that's pretty much what it seemed, that after that error, after the drop ball by Pete Kozma, it seemed that the nerves finally settled. And it's not like it's unheard of. I mean, look at the NLDS against Pittsburgh. Like I was mentioning earlier on in the show, the Pirates won the first game 9-1. St. Louis won the second game 7-1. So again, you were saying, all they really need is a split, and I totally agree with that. But when you look at what's going on here now, game 2, it's John Lackey, Michael Wacha. Nobody on the St. Louis Cardinals team before this game has ever had a hit against John Lackey. Beltran 0-9, Holiday 0-7. What's the approach that the Cardinals have to have right now in this game?
Well, look, I've said even both teams have 97 wins, and they both have some really good players. The Red Sox have the pitching advantage. There's no question about it. I mean, Wainwright's our ace, and you saw what happened. So when it comes to, like what he's saying with Lackey, no one's got to hit off him. What's the approach? The approach usually when you don't have success against the pitcher, you pick a couple of pitches because you make him at least. Even if he gets you out, he has to spend pitches in the pitch count, and you're more likely to get him out of the game earlier and then go after the bullpen. So if I'm Mike Matheny, I tell everybody, everyone takes at least one pitch or have at least one strike. I make that, and it doesn't mean they're going to automatic success, but it increases your chances. That's what I would do there. And I would tell the guys, I'd say, listen, even though we might have been known in the past, we're due. We're mathematically due. You see that in baseball all the time. Guys 0-20, next to bat home run. It's mathematics. Things will work out. Cardinals will get their chances tonight's game. I don't think, by the way, if the Cardinals do win, it's not going to be a blowout. I'm predicting a 2-1 victory. I think they have to be very smart. They get on base. You have to steal. They have to bunt. They have to sacrifice. Fenway Park's a deep park. You saw that it's 380 in right center. That is huge for a ballpark. So they're going to have to play a little small ball. And Like, I'm not that worried.
All
I'm really
right.
not. I think they can win tonight.
Now, when you look at what happened last night in Game 1 with that drop ball by Pete Kozma, now, I know it's a hypothetical, but do you see that if Kozma did not drop the ball, if they were able to turn that double play and get out of the inning without, before Napoli hits that bases clearing double, does that change the dynamic? If there's no error, does the dynamic of the game change, that Wainwright is able to settle into the game? And yeah, his pitches were kind of hittable, but he's able to get out of that jam and build his confidence up and kind of settle in?
That's a great point, Sports Rabbi. That might have really cost them the game. It's always hard to say these type of things in baseball because so many little things happen that affect so many other things. But momentum is such a huge part of baseball, especially the World Series. Even though it's 7 games, it's not that long. I mean, it's 4 wins. As baseball, there's not a lot of plays. So when you mess up on a play, it has ramifications. And they have to have a feeling. Whoever's going to win the World Series has a feeling at some point we're supposed to win. This is our destiny to win. We're the team of destiny this year. And when the Cardinals are playing, listen, this is something I want to point out. This will sound weird, but some World Series are what I call real World Series. Like, the Yankees and Cubs is different than the Giants and the Rays. And I know a lot of people won't like me say that, but it's true. There are millions and millions of more people watching tonight's game than last year when the Giants won the World Series. That's the way it is. So, Cardinals going in Fenway Park, millions of people. You have Mary J. Blige singing, all these people. And then an error happens, and they're like, oh, here we go. Here we go. We're going to lose. So it's a great point, Sports Rabbi. That play may have killed the Cards in Game 1.
Well, we talk about dropping the ball, but I think the St. Louis Rams in the NFL, moving on to the NFL for just a moment here, I think they also dropped the ball when they went ahead and contacted 44-year-old Brett Favre to kind of come in and see what type of quarterback he can still be, if he can still be that gunslinger that we all knew of him when he retired again a couple years ago. But what I think that the Rams dropped the ball is by, instead of contacting Favre, they should have perhaps contacted Tim Tebow. Now, my reasoning is quite simple. There's really no upside to Favre outside of possibly stealing a couple games and maybe being relevant, because the Rams are not going to the playoffs with Brett Favre. Probably they're not going to go to the playoffs either with Tim Tebow, but it gives, because Tim Tebow is such a media sensation, at least it gives the Rams some relevance. The media is there. It gets to expose their defense and introduce them to the national audience. Perhaps also with Tim Tebow versus a pocket passer like Favre, Tebow likes to run. And the offensive line protecting a traditional quarterback in St. Louis is god-awful. So perhaps having Tebow there, and I think that's where the Rams dropped the ball, was by not contacting Tim Tebow's camp. Yeah, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, look, Brett Favre's 44 years old, and perhaps he'll be playing at 64. The thing with Tebow, this is where I disagree with a little bit. To me, Tim Tebow belongs in a Jacksonville uniform. He was a star in Florida, Heisman Trophy winner, 2 titles, and a high school legend. So that's where I think he belongs. From St. Louis' perspective, to go with either Brett Favre or Tim Tebow, I guess Tim Tebow, I guess that makes more sense to play. Brett Favre can't,
Right.
So at that point, I hear that. What's going to sell more jerseys? See, Favre might sell more jerseys. If that's their goal, maybe they knew what they were doing, because a lot of people are like, oh, Brett Favre, he's back, or whatever. I want that jersey. So if you want to win the game, you go to Tim Tebow. If you want to try to sell a T-shirt, go with Brett Favre.
Fair enough. I hear that. But now there is something else that really kind of happened along the lines with Tim Tebow that we know is that he's not going to ever go to Jacksonville, because the Jacksonville Jaguars organization has made it plain and clear that they don't want any part of him. And also, you look at what's going on this season. They haven't won a game yet. They're probably not winning this weekend either in London. And they're probably going to get the overall first pick in this year's draft, probably going to bring Teddy Bridgewater, unless they get a king's ransom. But even so, I don't think that they're going to accept anything other than Teddy Bridgewater as the most surefire, quarterback-ready NFL-ready quarterback coming into the draft. But even so, it would certainly be interesting to see what happens with Tim Tebow if he ever gets picked up by another team, even to try out, especially with all these teams that have had quarterback issues and quarterback injuries going down to this point in the season. Talking a little bit about things going on in your part of the world in the Middle East, this past week was the World Swimming Invitational, and it was something odd that kind of happened in the United Arab Emirates. Last week, there was some of the events were held in Dubai this week, Qatar, and in both instances, one thing that was missing was if you tuned in on the TV and you saw the lineup, I don't know about you, but I don't recall there being a country that has a plain white flag as its colors. It seemed to me that when they had swimmers such as Guy Barnea, Gal Nevo, and Yaakov Tamarkin for the guys, and also Amit Ivri for the women, the former in Dubai, the latter in Qatar, there was no Israeli flag. I mean, what do you make of this, that the host nations refuse to broadcast the Israeli flag, at the various relays and things as such?
It's on my hit show, Lewis Live, which is on TOV1.FM, or your listeners can go there, and listen to me every Tuesday at noon Eastern. So, on last week's show, I had Noam speak. He's the president of the Israel Association of Swimmers. So, he was certainly in the know of the situation. The interesting thing is that you talk about Qatar, you talk about Dubai, because Israel had a meet in Dubai not too long ago where they did the same thing. And people might think, they look at a place like Dubai, they go, Dubai's a modern Arab country. It's got beautiful buildings. It's modern. It's got money. They must like Israel. But it's not true. And they also didn't show the flag. And Qatar, I also know I'm seeing, Qatar and Dubai, my understanding is that if you have Israel on your passport, they won't let you in, usually, unless you have a special circumstance. So I was also told by Noam Speed that they will not have major swimming matches like that again in Qatar because of this incident, and also it helped the Israeli swimmers. Gal Nevo, who's a great swimmer for Israel, a lot of people didn't hear about Gal until this story. When this story happens, you read about it, you're like, wow, this swimmer got this record, this swimmer won a world, this swimmer won a swimmer. So it gives more attention to the Israeli athletes. So overall, this anti-Israel situation was better for the Israeli swimmers.
Well, certainly this isn't the first time that we've seen this in the Middle East. I mean, you just look at what happened a couple of years ago with Shahar Pierre when she went to Dubai for a tennis tournament, and she wasn't even allowed into the country. It's not so much because she had an Israeli stamp in her passport, which for some of the United Arab Emirates you are allowed to enter the country. It's because she had an Israeli passport, and they won't allow an Israeli passport holder into the country, and they turned her down. And the United Tennis Federation, the World Tennis Association, told the organizers in Dubai that if you pull this stunt again, you pull this crap on us again, we're canceling every event henceforth in Dubai. And some of the players that year withdrew in protest to it, and the following year they allowed Pierre to come into the country. So it seems like with what goes on there is that if there's enough pressure, then they'll bow to it, then they'll bend to it, because they are, like you said, the quote-unquote modern Muslim countries. But certainly something interesting to see. I mean, Amit Ivri, she got the silver and a bronze. She got silver in Doha in the 100-meter individual medley relay, and she got the bronze in Dubai in the breaststroke. But the guys all finished fifth in their respective categories. Ari Lewis, host of Lewis Live every Tuesday afternoon Eastern, 7 p.m., 12 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Israel Standard Time?
Yeah, 7 p.m. Israel. We're going to change our clocks this month to Shabbat, but that's only for 1 week. And then we go with you. Then we're with you guys back to 7 hours. Next week, it'll be a 6-hour difference. Usually it's 7 hours. And I want to say God bless you, Sports Rabbi, for letting me be on your show. You are the Sports Rabbi. And go Cards. I still say Cards in 6. I still think it's going to happen.
Oh, well, you know, we always love and enjoy having you on the show here, Ari Lewis, host of Lewis Live on Tel Aviv 1 every Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening, pending if you are in the United States or in the Holy Land. Ari, as always, a pleasure. Thanks very much for taking the time.
God bless you. Shabbat shalom, Sports.
Take care. That was Ari Lewis, host of Lewis Live on Tel Aviv 1 every Tuesday evening in the Holy Land, and every Tuesday at noon you can hear it online if you tune in. And yeah, that pretty much summed up what's been going on this past week. I mean, everything from the Cardinals and the Red Sox. I mean, you also have a little bit of what the heck are the Rams thinking in terms of talking to Brett Favre. I mean, you know what? When we come back from this short break, when I come back, I'm gonna break this thing down as to why I think Tim Tebow should have been contacted by the Rams and why I think that they are doing a disservice to themselves by not contacting Tim Tebow. You're listening to Sports All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Don't touch that dial.
You know, our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Your computer is blowing up to the sounds of All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Welcome back on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Final segment. Thanks to Ari Lewis, the host of Lewis Live from Tel Aviv 1, for coming onto the show to discuss a little bit about the Red Sox-Cardinals World Series, his take on what's been going on in the Persian Gulf with the whole refrain from showing the Israeli flag at an international swim meet. And, of course, this whole Brett Favre, Tim Tebow, St. Louis Rams shenanigans as well. Now, I think that the Rams, much like Pete Kozma in Game 1 of the World Series, dropped the ball by calling Brett Favre, the 44-year-old hay-making, Wrangler jeans-selling, former glorified quarterback in the NFL, calling him to say, hey, we hear you're in great shape, man. Can you still throw the football? You want to lead our team to a couple wins and maybe some relevance? Sell some jerseys? Fill the seats here in Edward Jones Dome? Now, we all know what happened with Sam Bradford with the Rams out for a season, Achilles tendon, that whole spiel. But in terms of Tim Tebow, the Rams should have really gone for Tebow and not for Favre. Talk about what, of course, Tim Tebow did. You know, the Broncos caught lightning in a bottle with him. There's no denying that. Tebow, obviously the Rams did show interest purportedly before he eventually went to the Jets that offseason. He has the strength in he has the arm strength, but he lacks the accuracy. We all know that. He has that throwing motion that every defensive back, and including your grandmother, knows where it's going to. And also he lacks the footwork for a quarterback. But these are things that can be taught. The thing, though, with the Rams is that they still should have taken a flyer, and they still could take a flyer on him because there's more to gain than there is to lose by having Tim Tebow on your team. The Rams have Seattle and San Francisco in their division. They're playing Seattle this weekend. And that's why St. Louis is not making the playoffs. Even though they're 3-4 at the moment, they're not making the postseason. So that's not on the table even to talk about, even to discuss. Right now, signing Tim Tebow will bring fans to Edward Jones Dome, and they're going to have people tuning into their games on TV because of all the media attention that Tebow attracts and that wow factor, that wonderment that Tebow also has a hold with the common fan. The exposure that the Rams would have from maintaining Tim Tebow as their quarterback, even if he's a backup on the team, but signing him and potentially and kind of putting it out there that he has the potential to be the starting quarterback on the team, it's exposure for the Rams. Not since the greatest show on turf with Kurt Warner and company did the Rams have the potential for this much media exposure out in St. Louis, out in the Midwest. This exposure for their young defense, their talented young defense, and of course with Tim, it's there with Tim Tebow. Brian Schottenheimer, his former offensive coordinator with the New York Jets, is in St. Louis. The offensive line, which is horrible, blocking traditional quarterbacks, which is part and parcel the reason why Bradford is the way Bradford is today, will benefit from Tebow's shotgun offense, from the shotgun offense that Tebow likes to run, or because he's a mobile quarterback. So it's not that they have to sit there and block for 3, 4, 5 seconds. It's block, make a hole, run. Not necessarily are you always going to be throwing the ball. And with Tim Tebow, you know what's there. He's not going to be throwing the ball all the time. The Rams defense can carry a bad offense with Tim Tebow. And Jeff Fisher has worked, their head coach has worked with mobile quarterbacks in the past. He's worked with guys like Steve McNair, worked with guys like Vince Young. So why not Tebow? That's the question that Rams fans should be asking St. Louis hierarchy. There is so much more to gain with Tim Tebow on your team than there is with Brett Favre. Now, the other question that is to be asked is the Eagles. They should, with the situation that they find themselves in, should they be trading some of their positional players for the potential to get that early first-round pick where they could get either Teddy Bridgewater or Marcus Mariota? Should they burn it for Bridgewater, mail it in for Marcus, or play the season out, see how what their talent brings to the table, and then trade those pieces away so you can get that early first-round pick? Obviously, if you make that first-round pick because you suck, then you're going to make it anyways. I look at it as a win-win situation if the Eagles, they play out the rest of the season. They don't trade anybody right now. They don't make any moves right now to take the division. They trust in their team. They trust in the talent, or lack thereof, that is on the team right now. They go out there. They give it their best shot every single Sunday. They put their best foot forward and see where they show, see where they end up. If they don't make the playoffs, if they fail to even produce that, maybe another win or two, but that's it, then you are near enough to the first round area of the early portion of that round that you can get your Teddy Bridgewater or you can get your Marcus Mariota. So you are able to then go ahead and trade some of your best chips, some of your best pieces, such as LaShawn Shady McCoy, your running back, such as Deshaun, your wide receiver Jackson. Maybe even throw in a Jeremy Maclin who's been injured and nobody knows what's going on with him. Maybe throw in somebody like Nick Foles, Michael Vick. I mean, there are all these options, and I look at the Eagles situation right now, and I say the Eagles should play out the rest of the season. Don't pull another suck for luck. Don't tank it. Don't burn it for Bridgewater or mail it in for Mariota or mail it in for Marcus. Don't. Play out the rest of the season like you would normally. Try to win as many games as possible, and then by doing that, you're going to increase the value, most likely, in the players that you have. You, right now, the Philadelphia fans, the Philadelphia Eagles organization, are the only ones that truly believe, for example, that LeSean McCoy is one of the best running backs in the league. The reason I say that is because the last couple weeks he hasn't really done that much. So if you look from here, from about the midway point of the season, and you go forward and you say, all right, Shady McCoy, here's the ball, run. Show everybody what you got. If you want to increase your value, you got to show everybody what you got. And then he shows that he can be that number one running back. Guess what? You have yourself a great trading piece. And you can get a pick, maybe a later first-round pick, but you can trade that later first-round pick plus your first-round pick from where you finish. You have 2 first-rounders now. You can trade to somebody up there in the top 5 for the potential to get one of the most locked, surefire quarterbacks. This weekend, the Eagles are playing the New York Football Giants in Philadelphia. They're playing them here at Lincoln Financial Field. And there's got to be a stink at the link. I mean, the Eagles haven't won a home game since last season, week 4. It's 9 games going on 10. Giants, fresh off their win Monday night against the Vikings, 1-6. You realize that if the Giants beat the Eagles this weekend and the Dallas Cowboys lose, the Giants going into their bye week are 2 games out of first. Remember, the Giants started the season 0-6. Just bear that in mind. There is a pulse, there is a heartbeat. It's very faint, but it's still there for the New York Giants and their fan base. To me, I look at the Giants and I see a team that still has the potential to go up. Still has the potential to make a run for it. Dallas Cowboys, I mean, they are what they are. We're all waiting for Tony Romo to do something stupid and kind of sink the team come December time, kind of like what the Miami Dolphins were in the late 90s, early 2000s. They were great the first couple months, and the last quarter of the season, that was it, and they missed the playoffs. The Eagles, I don't think they're making the playoffs. I don't see it, and what they really need to do is just play out the rest of the season as if they were trying to win every game and see what happens. See where that brings you. See what it brings you. You never know what type of Easter bunny may lay that golden egg. If you get that golden egg, I mean, you get your quarterback next season, Chip Kelly. The whole thing can be different next year with a quarterback, or so we're all led to believe. Don't keep Shady McCoy. Don't keep some of those guys. I mean, look, Shady McCoy is a very good running back, but good running backs come more often than really, really good quarterbacks. Look at the Giants. They went ahead and picked up Peyton Hillis. I mean, the guy was on the street. He's a north-to-south runner, big guy, bruising guy, scores a touchdown. I mean, he's with the team a couple days. You can get guys like that all the time, but you can't get franchise quarterbacks like that. They don't come around all the time. That's why you got to trade somebody like that. Deshaun Jackson he's a one-trick pony. I mean, just throw him the deep ball. He can't really do much else besides for the deep ball, especially now that he doesn't have a guy like Jeremy Maclin on the other side. Can't do much else. So what are you going to do? Throw him the deep ball every time? But then they'll have a cover too. They'll have safety help coming over the top, and we'll make sure that he doesn't get it. And also, he's not the biggest guy. So there's another person that you can trade, another potential piece that you can trade to somebody else who's looking for that deep threat wide receiver who has pretty solid hands. Jets are playing the Bengals on Sunday. Bengals and the Jets both winners their last game. Jets 4-3 at the Bengals 5-2. Bengals beating Detroit 27-24 last week, and the Jets with that thriller in overtime against New England 30-27. All that controversy surrounding that one. Andy Dalton's been pretty good. I mean, last weekend, 3 interceptions, no picks. A.J. Green was a monster game last weekend, 6 receptions, $155. The Cincinnati defense has been really good. The Jets also been right up there. The Jets have given up more points but allowed less yards. So this is certainly going to be something that the New York fans are going to really kind of keep judging their team by with this game. Bengals, Jets, Sunday in Cincinnati. I think the Jets are going to pull this one off. I know they're the underdog. I give them less than a field goal. Probably Nick Folk is going to win for them again at the buzzer. Thanks for tuning in to the Sports Talk with the Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. That's all for me. Good night, and God bless.
All Noise Radio. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.